All right, welcome back to episode 19 of Winning with the Home Team. I'm Katrina.
And I'm Todd.
And today we have a special guest with us, Mr. Zac Trostel.
Howdy.
What's up? How's it going?
Going great.
So this is week 2 of our fall soccer league. We've had the first week where, you've kind of gotten all the jitters out, either as a player or a coach. And so now we're entering into the first game on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're pretty pumped about this. And Todd, how's your first week of soccer practice been?
Yeah, great. My first year of soccer, my first season of soccer at the LC. So yeah. I'm really excited about it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if there's one guy that I am just so thankful for when it comes to the sport of soccer, and specifically soccer at the LC, if there's one guy, it's Zac Trostel.
Yeah.
Zac, you have been nothing but an encouragement to me. Soccer is not my sport, as we saw with last week's episode. I'm a basketball girl, volleyball, softball. I'll run some. But I've enjoyed learning soccer, and that's because you've just been such an encouragement to you, and I love watching you coach. So without further ado, Zac, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family, and we'll jump in to our topic of gratitude.
Yeah, certainly. I'm from Arlington, born and raised here, went to public school in Arlington, started playing every sport. So essentially, my dad and mom both loved sports. I think they kind of got married with the idea of having little athletes.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
That's good news.
My dad coached me. He coached my little league football teams, my baseball team. He even coached soccer. He did not know much about soccer, but he coached and he was there. Basketball, a little bit. He tried to coach, but that's another point.
Right.
So by the time I got to, let's say, 8th grade, my parents said, "Hey, you're going to focus on one sport."
8th grade.
8th grade.
8th grade. Okay.
Yeah. So I had played all the sports up until that age, pretty much. I think I stopped basketball a little bit. I wasn't that good. I could defend okay, but I couldn't shoot or dribble.
Yeah.
So just like,
kind of important.
not doing this.
Yeah.
I only liked it if I was good at it.
Yeah.
Baseball, I think at that time I wanted to be a professional baseball player. For instance, I'm right-handed. My dad taught me to bat left-handed, so I was one step closer to first base. My dad's mom had a brother. He was a professional baseball player, and he was a Gold Glove winner. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated.
Wow.
So my dad liked baseball, and he thought, "Oh, this guy, he's going to be a good baseball player."
Yeah.
So it just so happened that 8th grade, my baseball team was absolutely terrible. I don't think we won a single game, and I just was kind of soured on the sport. And my soccer team was good.
Yeah.
I liked running around, and bam, I just went with soccer. So since then, I played college soccer, ended up meeting my wife through some connections through college soccer. Now I've got 3 young boys. I've got a 9-year-old. Let's see, Asher is a 7-year-old about to be 8, and then Levi's a 5-year-old about to be 6. So.
Yeah.
And they all play soccer through the LC. So
Right.
It's been a great time watching them this year already. So hopefully some good games coming in the future.
No regrets on picking soccer. You love you still because you're still
That's a good question.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're still very, very involved in the game, obviously, as a coach.
That's a great question. I always wonder what if. I mean, I don't try to dwell on it, but I do think, what if I played baseball? I like baseball.
Yeah.
It's a fun sport. And it seemed like as I got older, it did seem as though baseball was a more sustainable career, long term. It's not as hard on the body.
Yeah.
It's a lot of traveling, if you make it pro. But I bet it would be more difficult.
Yeah.
You're going to have to compete with people from all over the world. And baseball is a tough one. Dominican Republic really represents. Japan represents well. Soccer is tough, but in America, it was sort of a niche sport at that time. And I think that might have led to some of my success. I'm not 100% sure, but there were fewer people involved.
Right.
Just for college coaches to choose from, things like that. So.
Well, I will say this about you, Zac, because I mean, I've known you for years. I've just started working at the LC and just watching you coach, through the summer at camps and different soccer camps we've had over the last year. And so when it came time for us to do the soccer promotional video, and
If
It
you
was a
haven't seen the
blast.
soccer promotional video, go check it out on YouTube. This is a shameless plug
Yeah, this is a shameless
for
plug.
Todd and for Zach.
Todd was great in that. I
But-
was blown out of my
So
comfort zone.
I knew that I was gonna play basically the villain, right?
Yeah,
And so I looked at her and I was like, I know exactly who's gonna play the right way to coach, because and I can't give you enough props. I mean, either one of us, because you are a testament to what coaches can be in kids' lives. And they all want to play for you,
Yep.
right?
Mhm.
They all
If Zach
request
would
Zach.
have, I mean, like if Gina would allow Zach, Gina is Zach's wife.
Yeah.
If Gina would allow you to have 5 teams, would you have 5 teams?
If she would allow me to. I think she mentioned to me last night, we were talking about it, and she was saying, you could probably do a 4 and 5-year-old team.
Oh my goodness.
Something along
yeah.
those lines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if we could just
yeah.
clone you, if we could clone you
Mm.
and be in 3 places at once, that would
Yeah.
be
We're
perfect.
probably not too far off. From
Yeah.
And that's true. But
Yeah.
like, let me be clear on this. Like, we're not talking about wins and losses.
Right.
You know, when we talk about Zach,
No.
he genuinely could care less about. Well, you probably want to win. We all want to win. That's hands down what we want to do.
Yeah.
But like that's not necessarily the priority. When I've watched you coach, like you genuinely go after the hearts of those kids.
Yeah.
And you do it by making sure that you know their name. Like that is so huge.
Right.
You know, to Todd's point, and y'all, I know that Zach is probably very uncomfortable with all these compliments right now. But on the topic of gratitude, there was not a single person, you know, I could think of that I wanted to talk to in regards to gratitude, which is our virtue of the
Yeah.
week that we're going into.
Yeah.
There was no other person than Zach that I had in mind,
Right.
because the success of your coaching, I think, is a direct result of just your heart of gratitude that you have. You know, for yourself, for the sport, for your family. You know, when I say that you have been an encouragement to me, like you've been an encouragement just in reminding me, you know, that God has had this hand over this ministry and he's got it, right? Like he's got it. Like
Definitely.
how many times have you told me that?
Right.
Yeah, well, God gets the glory for this whole thing.
Yeah.
I would say if it wasn't actually for disappointments in my soccer career, I probably wouldn't have grown as a person.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to be grateful each day, really, that he basically planned this whole topic before the foundation of the entire world. I mean,
Yeah.
the whole reason we're here is that somehow his word survived, and we had access to it, and then his spirit gives us this peace. So, you know, once you're there, I can look back at soccer and say, really, I was kind of I would almost say like a grumbler. I was impatient when I was a soccer player. You know, I was almost a critical spirit. I judged people's personality based on how good they were at soccer.
Right.
I cared about the sport so much. So it almost took me getting to a level and then looking at it and saying, I just remember getting to the point where it was like, oh, I have to go to soccer practice.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I get to go to soccer practice.
Right.
So it's kind of just reframed my whole mind.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older and a little bit more mature in my faith, I look back at it and I say, really, the lessons that soccer taught me, it's not the cliche things like teamwork or leadership. You know, it's more or less, taught me to be less of a grumbler, and I can deal with disappointment and loss and things like that a little better.
Yeah.
And also,
That's good.
you can be a people builder. I mean, I've been coached by a lot of men, so I've learned the difference. Let's
Yeah.
put it that
Right.
way. Some people are kind of the tear down style of coach.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of players are right on the cusp of just needing someone to speak into their life a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're not better at soccer, but it's going to boost their self-esteem.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's kind of an important factor of any coach. I think Reggie Jackson says something along the lines of a good manager makes the player think they're better than they actually are. So that's kind of, I kind of try to use that mindset of find the one positive thing about the kid and just.
That's really
run with
good.
it.
And I probably would have lost a lot of money if I had a bet about Reggie Jackson being part of a soccer podcast today. But that's a great quote.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I will say this, and we have a lot of good coaches. I don't mean to just brag on Zach, because we have so many good coaches in our league, and it's awesome to see when we had our coaches meeting, you were out there teaching them, right? And so you're passing down to them, hey, this is the way that I prepare for practice, or this is the way that I prepare for a game. And I was listening to you talk about how at the first practice, you bring paper and you make notes about kids. Like, if they're wearing an orange shirt, you put that note next to their name because it helps you remember their name. And that's so powerful to a child to have their coach call them by name, because it makes it personal. So I was hoping that maybe you could walk us a little bit through some of those things that you were talking about with the coaches about how you prepare.
Yeah, certainly. Of course, you want to know their name.
Yeah.
And you want to call them by name. And you also want to smile. You smile. And every time you're praising the kid, you're basically praising God. So you have to look at it from the mentality of, we're trying to build these kids up. You want them to like the sport of soccer. You want them to learn the rules. Yeah, winning's important. I don't know that it's super important when the kid's 4 and 5.
Right.
Yeah.
I think as you get older, it's definitely more important.
Right.
Some of the things you want to do, obviously, I like to prepare not only the devotion, but my entire practice beforehand. If I've got 8 kids on the team, I want to make sure that my plan is for 8 kids. And I don't want idle time. So I want those kids not waiting in line. I want them touching the ball.
Yeah.
If you extrapolate that over the season, 9 weeks, each time that they're standing in line as opposed to touching a soccer ball, it's kind of lost time. And times 9, that's really powerful.
Yeah.
You're going to get a lot more touches, and you're going to have more opportunity to praise the kid.
Right.
And, you're not praising them when they're standing in line. You're yelling at them, hey, be quiet.
Yeah.
Stop fooling around.
That's a great point. Yeah. Really, really good.
Yeah. Yeah. You had mentioned that that you've learned the most from soccer through disappointments. Walk us through, if you will, some of those disappointments and what it taught you.
Oh, yeah, certainly. So it's almost a crazy God story, to be totally honest with you. So I don't know that I've ever told you guys this. I played soccer in college, Division I.
SMU.
SMU. It was a good team. They're still, I think they're preseason ranked top 10, Division I. When I was there, we were ranked number 1 in the nation. The year that I was a senior in high school, we made the Final Four, and I believe it was in North Carolina. We lost in the Final Four to St. John's, if I don't recall. But I got to fly there and watch the game, which was a really cool experience. Beside the point. But the disappointment really with me is, so they redshirted me my freshman year, which is very uncommon for soccer. I was on a 5-year degree program. So I think the coach, he was just so much more wise than I was as a kid. In my mind, of course, I was impatient. I just want to play.
Sure.
Right.
I want to be a starter. So he essentially redshirted me. I lettered 2 years. So I'm into college 3 years, and I'm not really getting much playing time. I mean, I have to sit on the bench was kind of my personality. It wasn't going great.
Yeah.
But that freshman year, when he redshirted me, he did something amazing that now I can look back on and I say, wow, that was God working in that moment. But at the time, it was just, it was the doldrums. So he essentially set me up to coach his daughter and coach their friends. Crazy, but
yeah.
And
a coach was born.
Dude, he knew. He knew. It was like, this guy's not going to be that good at soccer, pretty much.
Yeah. but what a coach.
Yeah. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
And, and you have tears in your eyes, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you have tears in your eyes because you look back at it now and you see the decision that your coach made when you were 18 years old now is affecting the lives of hundreds of people in Southwest Arlington.
Yeah.
Is that what the tears are for? I don't want to
pretty
presume
much.
to know.
It was kind of like that. And just, he knew that I needed something else, I think. And I was just a grumbling spirit, a critical sort of spirit. And coaching kids actually kind of pulled that out of me.
Yeah.
But,
that's so good.
Yeah, that really is. And I don't want to push you too far down that road, but I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Because I just think that this is so good. And by the way, I was on a 5-year degree plan too, but I wasn't redshirted. It just took me that long to get my degree. But when you're talking about this, and you see, looking back on this, you see God with his fingerprints all over your life clearly, and we can see it obviously just watching you. What advice do you give to those kids right now that are maybe they're at the high school or college level. I mean, like you said, you had to get over kind of an ego at that point. But what advice do you give to those kids now?
Well, I think you have to dream big and don't give up on your dreams. And I'd say wake up every morning thinking you're going to accomplish the victory. But be aware of what's going on and the opportunities. So some of those disappointments are actually going to be some of your better opportunities. If you're in that situation that I was in, I actually decided not to play anymore, gave up my scholarship at the same time of I was on partial academic scholarship, and I believe my GPA fell below the ability for the academic scholarship to continue. You know, I had like standards for that. So it was kind of I felt like my life was sort of falling apart, but really that was like laying the foundation. So and it it prepared me to deal with some unexpected disappointments that are going to happen in the future and things like that.
So at what point did you realize in your life this was actually a good thing for me? How long did it take for you to get to that place?
That's a great question. I don't think it happened immediately, but I started, I can remember after that, there was a Baptist church kind of by White Rock Lake in Dallas. And I started coaching upward. And that sort of solidified what I wanted to do on the coaching side. But I wanted to have it. God had put these ideas on my heart. I want to have a family. I want to have kids. And I would hope, to be able to coach them. But it seems like it slowly, as it comes to fruition, it's just made it more cemented that it's obviously God was working in my life. At the time, I was just frustrated, wanted to play soccer. I was questioning, like, wow, why did I go to school here? Look at this coach. He doesn't even like me. But really, he liked me quite a bit.
And he liked you enough to give you his daughter a coach. I mean, that's the ultimate compliment.
That was it. And it was an amazing financial opportunity. Since I was redshirted, it was Highland Park private training, like his daughter's peers coaching their indoor team. These people would pay great money for that. And since I was redshirted, I wasn't part of the NCAA requirement. It was amazing. It was basically like taking care of me. So.
Isn't it amazing how many stories that we have gone through in this podcast, just doing it, of people that say, you know what, these are my plans. And then it goes way this way. And then you look back and go, man, I can see God's hand in this the entire way. And it just reinforces that we just don't know. We make our own plans, and sometimes God just says, no, I got you.
It's like that proverb, the proverb that says, we make plans for our life, essentially.
Proverbs 16
but
something.
God is the one that directs our steps.
Exactly.
He's the one.
Also, as you get older too, you realize that you can imagine I wanted to be good at soccer, but really it was just a blessing that I even got to play. It's like you meet a guy, he wants new shoes, he's got some beat up shoes, he's disgruntled. Until he meets the guy with no feet.
Right.
And it's kind of like, as I've gotten older, I'm like, you know what? I did play soccer. In my mind, it was a disappointment. It's kind of the way I looked at it. But really, it wasn't bad,
Which is so key to our gratitude that we're talking about this week. I mean, if you could it's easy to sit up there and talk to the kids and the parents, by the way, about just be grateful that you get the sport or be grateful that you get the facility. We live in a day and age where everything is just handed to us. It's just handed to us. And we get this entitlement feeling. But man, just the gratefulness that we should be able to be able to do it in the first place. So,
Zach, I'm interested, when you're talking to Colin and to Asher and to Levi, how do you teach your boys what gratitude is? How do you communicate to them how that's important and that they should be grateful for all that they have?
I can remember recently talking to Colin, who's my oldest. He's 9. He's a little more mature. And I was trying to explain to him why mom and dad get frustrated with him. And so, it's the same way God has made us in his image, and then we're out there messing up all the time. It's like, I look at him and I'm like, dude, I'm telling you what to do. I'm telling you the right thing to do.
Right.
But the gratitude piece is just, all the kids that we have, they're good kids, but what you try to do is just be a people builder, try to build them up, not that critical spirit, try to tell them, let's live kind of an excuse-free life. A lot of people out there have it a lot worse.
Yeah.
Those type of things. And then, set them up for these unexpected disappointments that, I think it says, let's say something along the lines of everyone's going to have your trials. Everyone gets that, but the misery part is the optional part. So you don't have to be miserable, but you're going to go through the trials.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. I think a heart of gratitude is essential when you're talking about like fear, right? Like if I have a heart of gratitude, that means that I am choosing, to your point, not to live in fear, because fear is essentially worrying about what's ahead, or it's worrying about the future. But a heart of gratitude is kind of the opposite. When I have a heart of gratitude, I'm focusing on all the things that, number one, I'm thankful for that I have right now, but then two, like what God has given me in the past. Like I can recount the ways that he's provided for me, and I can recount all the ways that he's protected me. And so, as I'm talking to Taya, who is 5 years old, I'm constantly trying to your point, to lift her up, and to tell her, all these things that she should be grateful for. I bet it's, I'm going to say this, and then this is a question for you guys. Do you think it's harder for kids to understand gratitude and Thanksgiving when they're always hearing it from their parents over and over again, as opposed to someone who's being torn down and torn down and torn down and torn down, and then a coach like Zac comes along and does the opposite?
It's a good question.
I'll let you take the answer first.
Well, I could see how someone could get complacent in that sort of environment. I think people have the tendency to complain. It's built up. We're all, we have an inner battle going on, and each day you sort of have to wake up, and you almost need to reset that gratitude piece. Otherwise, you might find that spirit of heaviness is kind of getting you down for that day. And I can just imagine being stuck in that rut of having that spirit of heaviness and not complimenting your child. I bet they're looking for someone to compliment them in that situation.
Yeah.
Be tough to know. Thankfully, my parents were pretty kind to me most of the time, so I don't really know 100%, but I can imagine. Seems like some people are more receptive than others that are children.
Yeah. Todd, how have you taught gratitude to your kids for Thanksgiving?
Yeah, as I was listening to you talk, Zac, about how you teach it to them, I don't know that there's a magic formula, but I can remember, maybe this was a horrible way to teach gratitude, but when my kids were smaller, because they're high school and college age now, but when they were younger, they were behaving terribly for one season. Not for just the one, but in this particular season. And I remember putting them in the car, at least a couple of the boys, and driving them to the cemetery. And we got out.
Who was this?
Cole, maybe Colin. I can't remember. But I remember we drove to the cemetery. We got out. I took them to my grandfather's headstone. And World War II, medal winner and all this stuff. And I remember telling them, do you see that last name? That is your last name, and that is my last name. And that was probably the bad part. But it sparked a conversation that we had about being grateful for what you've been given, that, this is a man who literally didn't know if he was going to live the next 15 minutes because of what he was doing. And here it is. You really we don't require much of you at all. Take out the trash, keep your room clean, right? That
For
kind
real.
of thing. So maybe I go a little over the top in trying to teach it.
You had enough.
Yeah, I was done.
I envision you at the top of your level.
But it drives me crazy because I was, being in a career where you would go into homes where these kids just had nothing. And by nothing, I mean parents. Right? They might have one parent who is not there.
Yeah.
And those kids would respond to you in a way where if you gave them a hug, like you had a best friend for life.
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and playing it out and thinking, man, I wish I could take groceries to all these kids. I wish I could adopt all these kids. I wish I could just give them the world. And then I would go home to my own kids. And even though they were acting out, it created in me a gratitude that, man, I have healthy children.
Right.
I have kids that don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from or that they're going to get a hug today. And it changed my own perspective in being grateful. And so I like to think that I don't just load them up and take them to the cemetery every week, but that I can show them, I can show them what it means to be grateful by being present with them and telling them I love them, and just, being that kind of father.
Yeah. And that's exactly what I'm talking about when I ask the question. You go on a scene where you mention the kids have nothing. And yet you go home, and you have a loving family and your boys, they have been affirmed and they have been taught and led in such a way. And yet you're still taking them to the cemetery, and I'm not trying to find a perfect answer. If, as I have a 5-year-old and I'm learning how to parent her, I do want her to appreciate all that she's been given. And that's hard when, when we provide them all the things like Taya has right now,
right.
And so going back to gratitude, the verse that we have this week is Psalms 107, verse 1. And it says, give thanks to the Lord for he is good. His steadfast love endures forever. So when I think about gratitude, I mean, the culmination of gratitude resides in God's love for us and his provision and his blessings. And so, as we talk about just how to parent, winning with the home team, how do we get kids to show gratefulness, to show thankfulness? I know one family who goes and serves at Mission Arlington every Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
I know another family who, tells their kids, when Christmas time is coming up, hey kids, I want you guys to go clean out your closets of the toys and put them in trash bags. And we're going to take them to Mission Arlington and give them away before we get a plethora of more toys for Christmas.
Right.
So I do think that, as Dean and I think about these things, on how to foster a heart of gratitude for Taya, I'm just always looking for ways to do that better.
Yeah, and kids, you don't realize this. Well, you probably do actually. They're watching all the time, and how we act as parents, and are we grateful? They're going to mimic, especially at young ages, what we do. I was having a conversation with Cole, who is my son, who's a big fan of Zach.
I'm a big fan of Cole.
Yeah, but he is 20 years old now. He's in college at Alabama, and we were talking the other day, and he reminded me of. He said, "Do you remember that time that you stopped at the corner and that guy was asking for money, and you gave him like all you had was $1 or whatever to give him at the time?" And I was like, "No, I don't remember that at all." And he was like, "That just made such a huge impact on me. It made me think, okay, well, these aren't just people out there, scamming people, and maybe they are. I don't know, but I can't believe that he remembers that. Like that was so long ago. But impressionable kids." And it made me think, how many times have I drove past those people and not given them any money? And did my kids remember that? But it was the time that I did that made an impact on him, and it just reinforces that they're always watching. And so if we are not demonstrating that heart of gratitude, then they're certainly not going to get it. So, yeah.
Yeah. This has been good.
Yeah.
It's been really good.
Yeah.
Zach, again, thank you so much for your involvement.
Yeah, you don't want any funny soccer stories?
Give us one, please. Yeah, give us one for the road home.
Let's see.
Yeah,
I have a few. For one, there's a guy that I played with youth soccer here. Back then, when these funny things were happening, I didn't know he would become an amazing soccer player. I mean, he was good, but he became the best in the U.S. probably, arguably. One time, do you remember in high school where you have parties or dances and you finally dress up?
Yeah.
Me and this particular gentleman, we weren't the wealthiest kids on our team, and so it was a big deal for us to have khaki pants, get dressed up,
yeah,
whatever. Dallas Cup is this famous soccer tournament. It's an international soccer tournament. They do a little ball, a dance.
Oh, cool.
So we decided to stay the night with this gentleman who was on our soccer team. I'm from Arlington. Clint was from, this guy's Clint Dempsey.
Clint Dempsey.
Oh,
Okay, yeah.
Dempsey.
Yeah. He played for SFA, right?
He's from Nacogdoches.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
He played for the U.S. national team.
Okay.
He was our captain and played in the World Cup and stuff. But he probably played for their high school, their local high school.
Okay.
Either way, we had to stay there to be able to go to this dance. So we're all excited. We go, and our friend who's driving us, this guy named Matt, has a Jeep. And he decides we were going to go mudding, before.
Yeah.
Well, of course, he gets the Jeep stuck. And then
you're dressed up
yeah,
for the dance?
we're all
and you're
dressed
going
up.
mudding?
Yeah. So then our best outfits, we have to get out there and get the vehicle out of the way. And our only good outfits pretty much ruined.
Wow.
Did you still go to the dance?
We did not.
Okay.
No.
Man.
That's how it goes. There's another funny one, but one time Coach Bayet, who's going to be on next week, I believe, we played soccer in the United Arab Emirates. And this is kind of a ragtag team we put together to play against some colleges over there, if I don't recall, like in Sohar, which was in Oman.
Mm-hmm.
So we're eating in the desert with these guys that are... So Coach Bayat makes a team where it's half American guys, Derek Hicks, Jeremy Greenwich, me, some other guys, and then half United Arab Emirates citizens. So that was kind of the cool piece, was we were going to play together, and then we were going to travel and play these teams. So I remember we go and we're eating this meal, and the guys, they essentially get a young goat one day, they kill it, and they start cooking it in the ground. And then you go back there and you're going to eat it. So you're sitting around this table, not even a table, actually, sitting on a rug in the middle of the desert. And I can remember I was real fascinated with the owner of this ranch. And I was walking around, I was talking to him the whole time. And then they bring his servants, guys, bring the platter out. And we're all sitting there. And it's all kind of quiet. And that guy says, he looks at the goat. And I was probably still talking. And he says, grabs the tongue out of the goat and pulls it, and he looks at me and he says, "This is for you, for all the talking." And I'm like, don't know any of these guys, and so I'd like have to eat the goat tongue just to say like, oh, here's some respect. I don't want to turn down the food. So.
Right.
So did you eat it?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Oh man.
Tastes like chicken.
And so after you ate the tongue, did you get to eat the rest of it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think some people were sampling the goat brains there. Coach Bayat will remember.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Zac, thanks again for being on. We appreciate it.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks for all that you do,
Yeah.
And the heart that you have, and just thankful for what God's done in your life and what He'll continue to do through Colin and Asher and Levi because of your obedience.
Kind of hoping there'll be future coaches up here at the LC, God willing. That'd be nice.
Oh yeah,
that's what we're hoping.
That is a plug, by the way, that we want as many coaches as we can get. But thanks for helping us not only grow the sport here, but also helping us grow in the sport, because we're not exactly experts, but
you guys are doing a wonderful job facilitating it. I mean, you really are. Katrina's great. You've been a great compliment.
For sure.
Thank you.
You guys are doing great.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't, please subscribe to our podcast. We would love to hear from you, get your feedback. But yeah, thanks for listening on Winning It with the Home Team. We'll see you next week.